Hey, welcome to Collaboration Wednesday with the Grunin Foundation. I am Jeremy Grunin, president of the Grunin Foundation, and I am very fortunate to be joined today by two of our amazing leaders here in Monmouth and Ocean County. Laurie Goganzer, CEO of the YMCA of Greater Monmouth County, and Peter Rosario, CEO of the YMCA of Ocean County. Thank you so much both for joining us.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thanks. I know it's been crazy times. I know you guys are two of the folks that are really on the front lines day to day, and the front line is changing to such a great extent. We don't know, the front line changes from one day we're going one way, the next day we're going the other way, and it's a very difficult thing to keep up with. So our topic is collaboration. So first, I'd like to kind of ask the question around how the two of you began collaborating. It's not a given that national organizations have folks from neighboring counties working together to such a great extent. You don't see it in every organization, but here in Monmouth and Ocean County at the Y, we are seeing it. So, Laurie, can you start? Maybe give us some idea of how this kind of partnership built.
Sure. Yeah. Jeremy, thank you so much for having us. You know, not everyone knows, but there are 30 Ys throughout the state of New Jersey. And so many of us do have a pretty strong network of coming together. But the YMCA of Monmouth and Ocean County, our two YMCAs, do that a lot. I think probably more than most of the others. You know, one of the things about our Y is we have a strong partnership in the mental behavior health with the schools. But Peter and I have just been working together on so many topics. I mean, we're the nation's largest child care provider. And our two YMCAs have been supporting one another a lot in terms of, you know, social emotional learning with kids. And right now, with all the changes that are going on, we have found so many other ways, but not something that's new for our two YMCAs to know the importance of coming together, working together so that we can be stronger together.
That's great. And I know you guys work on a number of projects, have been working on a number of projects together well before the pandemic hit. But since the pandemic's hit, Peter, talk to me a little bit about how the needs have shifted in our areas. What have you done to kind of shift with those needs?
Sure. Thanks, Jeremy. I think, you know, one of the things, especially when you look at both counties, on paper, you may perceive both counties to be very different. And when life is normal, I think that kind of can stand on its own. But during times of crisis, I think fundamentally, both regionally and across the country, it's been the same basic needs. I mean, the need for food, just basic food, is extraordinary at this time. Our partnership with Laurie and her Y, I can tell you, I've been able to pick up the phone and call Laurie's team and get somebody in front of a mental health professional, not in days. The average wait time in Ocean County is 8 to 10 weeks to get in front of a mental health professional, which is sad in its own right. But Laurie's team and Laurie, with her leadership, we get people in front of somebody within hours. And the third area is just this whole concept of virtual connection. Ys are almost, I joke that it's almost like a religious aspect, the affinity that people have to their Y and to their treadmill, to their instructor, to their pools, to all those little nuances of our buildings. So the idea of virtually connecting people, especially for our senior populations, for those who are most vulnerable, has been an astronomical journey. And I know Ys from both facilities are going on each other's videos and content and Zoom. So it's really been a partnership. But I would say those are the three fundamental issues that we're addressing most, in addition to emergency childcare.
Great. Thanks, Pete. Laurie, talk to me a little bit about some of the partnerships that you have formed, and what organizations are you working with? What does that look like in your day-to-day?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. This definitely is a new world for all of us. And we know that the YMCA is so well known for swimming and childcare and health and fitness, just like Peter was mentioning. People come to our Ys. We're all over the county. Peter's got a great Y there in Ocean County, but we've certainly had to shift our business and think about how can we best serve the community at this time. So, Peter mentioned the emergency childcare services. We are the nation's largest childcare provider. And in Monmouth County, we certainly are. However, at this point in time, schools are closed. And so we haven't been able to, serve in that capacity. However, essential workers have got to get to work. And so we have had to find ways that we can provide childcare for those folks, whether they're in hospitals, whether they work at grocery stores. There are people that got to get to work. They need the why. So we've had to, kind of change up our model a little bit, reach out to local hospitals, various partners to say, look, how can we support you in that capacity? The American Red Cross is a national partner for the Y. We've been doing work with those guys for a long time, but now more than ever, there is a blood shortage in New Jersey. And our YMCA is working with the American Red Cross to host blood drives, and we're doing them very frequently. They're filling up. We're seeing so much generosity. One of the things that shifted for us and real true, just our partnership with Ocean County Y really supported this is we haven't really been in the food distribution business until now, right? So we did a little bit of it at one of our locations in only the summer, but we reached out and we recognized that in times like these, people are worried about shelter and food. And so one of the things we knew we could help address is there food security issues? Let's step in and help here. So we've been able to do things like food drives and collect foods to support Fulfill, to support Lunch Break, other local food pantries. But, we took it a step further and we reached out to Pete. We know he's on the board of Fulfill, and he connected us with Kim, the CEO there. And Jeremy, you were also very helpful. We said, how can we work to support one another? As of this point in time, we've sent some of our staff and volunteers down to Fulfill's distribution center in Neptune just to help them. We've set up distribution centers in various locations throughout the county that are our locations. I guess in the last 3 weeks, we've given out 2,300 meals, our YMCA alone. So we have shifted, we've pivoted, and we've reached out to partners and said, how can we help you? Also just the school districts themselves. One of the things that we've always done is the mental behavior health work. And now more than ever, there is a greater need. I mean, just working with folks right now, we think about people being home, cabin fever, domestic violence, things that can happen. People are getting depressed. There's anxiety. I think the need's going to grow. And one of the partners we've been having is with the school districts. And we serve over 1,000 kids daily in Monmouth, Ocean, and Middlesex County through our partnerships with schools. And right now schools are closed. So we've had to convert our business model to a telehealth model, which has allowed us now to reach out to those kids that still need the Y on the phone or online. So we're really thinking about reaching beyond what we're used to doing, shifting things, but working with other partners to do a good job in service to the community.
Yeah, and that's to your point. I know that there was a somewhat of a food desert in Freehold, and a real problem. We couldn't figure out how to get food to Freehold, and you and Kim worked together to figure out how to knock that problem down. That's been very successful. I mean, as successful as some program like that could be, because success is obviously that you don't need the program.
Right.
But we did get food to those in need, and that was great. Pete, I know you also you had early on done a lot of work with the biggest suburban school district in the state, which is Toms River Schools. You were kind of the point to bring everyone together. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So again, Toms River, largest suburban school district, and really the need is changing. You want to look at the numbers. We have 5,000 youth who are free and reduced lunch families. So these are our most vulnerable population. We started out by sending people to the Beat Center. At one point, we were the only volunteers who could get to the Beat Center. We had a donor, Dave Wintrow, who generously offered to pay our staff to go and pack boxes there. They did 20 tons in the first week, 20 tons in the second week. They've been on the ground because if you don't have boxes to distribute, then you can't get food to folks. We partnered in terms of assisting. So the Toms River Schools is distributing, I think it's about 3,000 to 3,500 meals, 10 meals at a time. So they go in on Mondays. Well, what were the kids going to eat for dinner? So we supported Fulfill, and we sent out our staff We distributed 5,000 meals the first week, 5,000 meals the second week. So these are dinners to these families. And we're keeping, in addition to that, and we're going to be growing it again. We did a food insecurity survey that Laurie put together. We've had to convert that into a sign-up slot because the demand is so much. The first week it was 17 folks. Next week it was 36 folks. It went to 50 folks. Tomorrow we're going to distribute 100 boxes, and we really have to ramp up because we, unfortunately, it's going to be an exponential problem. So we could very easily see that within the next couple of weeks, we'll be distributing 200 to 300 boxes in addition to all the food we need to get to folks.
Wow, that's amazing. I know. Listen, you alluded to it. I'm the chairman of the board for Fulfill, the food bank of Monmouth and Ocean County, and I personally, I want to thank these two. They've done an amazing job of not only providing volunteers, which they both have, but at the biggest time of crisis, which was unfortunately we lost a team member way before her time to the virus 2 weeks ago. And we were able to call up right away to Laurie and say, can we get 2 grief counselors? She was able to send them on site the next morning to address the team, to be there for the team that day, and to provide continuing support as folks are dealing with a tragedy like that. So, there are things that you don't necessarily think of even from a YMCA standpoint that the YMCA provides, and some of the things that they didn't know they provided that now they are providing. So it's been really great to see word of the day, the pivot of these organizations in the spirit of collaboration and in the spirit of running to the fire as opposed to running away from it. So thank you for that. But in the world of collaboration, I think there's a I want to say there's a bit of a stigma attached to it. I think some folks are fearful of it because of pride of authorship, because of leadership, because of maybe an organization's own insecurities. Who's going to be the lead dog? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? Which board is going to trump which board? Sorry, I didn't mean to use Trump. But in this case, are you guys finding it easier or more difficult for collaboration? How are you attacking collaboration in general? Laurie, let's start with you on that.
Yeah, I would say that people are rising to the occasion, Jeremy. At this point in time, we're looking at what are those essential services that we need, that are in our wheelhouse, that we can provide, but who can we work with who might be better at it than us, who can help us figure out how to do it. If there's an unmet need and it's in our wheelhouse, we're going to go for it. We're going to support the community. And so something as simple as, I'd mentioned the childcare piece, the emergency childcare. Well, we were in need just to get that program launched. We needed some nurses, and we didn't have nurses readily available on our staff, but the school districts did. So we reached out, and the school district said, yes, superintendent said, yes, let me get you some nurses. And by the way, those nurses right now, we have a handful of them who are showing up daily to our sites to give wellness screenings to the children and the parents when they come in every day, including the staff. But those nurses are volunteering. So this is just, the schools have stepped up to support. The list goes on of just how much people are opening up and saying, yeah, let's do this together. Let's figure this out. So if you don't ask, right, then you might not find out, but you got to just open your mind to that.
That's great. Pete, how do you feel? I mean, what is your sense of the world of collaboration at this moment? Is it different? What have you done differently? How have you kind of navigated through this?
I would say 2 things. We have to acknowledge the innate fear out there. So it's been a challenge for people to come out and volunteer and do things in the traditional fashion. I think one thing about working in Ocean County that's great, and I said it from the beginning, and thanks to our work together, our collaboration with the Toms River Family Health and Support Coalition, we have such convening power. So in Ocean County, it's very easy to pick up the phone. I've never worked anywhere where I could pick up the phone and talk to the chief of police, the superintendent, elected officials, all within an hour. They're so responsive. They're so. I think the good thing is if you had strong, solid collaboration and you had a collaboration mindset in place, it's just easier to carry that through and when times are tough. So I think that's the main thing that I hope people learn out of this, that you have to take those egos and check them at the door and work and come together for the community. One thing I know my kind of singular benchmark is, listen, when the adults in the room become the distraction, then the adults got to go. And I think it's just very important to understand that we don't have time for pettiness right now. We have time. This is bootstrap time, get to work and do what we need to do to serve the people.
That's great. Thanks. So you had something to add, Laurie?
Yeah, you know, something that was kind of neat today. So I get a daily email, the Morning Juice, and today's was just perfect for this. And I want to just share it. It's a quote from Arthur Ashe. And this is what he said is, true heroism is remarkably sober, very undramatic. It is not the urge to surpass all others at whatever cost, but the urge to serve others at whatever cost. And I thought that was timely for today.
Yeah, and you know, I think that's the key. I think too often, especially in the world of nonprofits, primarily in the world of nonprofits, we hear so often that nonprofits need to be run like businesses, run like businesses, run like business, and that's 100% right. I mean, we have to be P&L conscious. We have to be smart about how we're doing what we do. But most importantly, we're all trying to do good in this world. We're not trying to build a better hamburger than the guy next door. You know, we're not trying to build a better widget. We're trying to solve a problem. And the only way we do that is together through collaboration. So I think, and you know, to your point, Laurie, I think these are the times when really character comes out and organizations can step to the front and say, look, we're gonna lead this charge and we're gonna help make a difference here. And then some organizations and some leaders will back up and say, this just isn't for me. I'm not capable, and that's unfortunate. So as a parting word, what advice would you give folks that are watching this when they're thinking of how do they get started, you know, down the road of partnership? Where do they go first? Pete, we'll start with you.
You know, I think all partnership, and it's important for us as leaders to start inside and go outward. I think the one thing we can forget at this time is the partnership first with our staff teams and with our board and volunteers. We have to make sure they're prepared and have conversations with them, intimate conversations, real conversations about, hey, this is what we need to do and this is why we need to do this. And if you don't prepare and do your homework first with your family, then you can't really go out and serve the community. So I think that would be my advice that I would add is really, if you haven't had those one-on-one phone conversations or Zoom conversations to talk to folks, you really got to start doing that, because this thing is going to go on for months. You know, I would think, right, we have to start thinking about the educational loss. There's so many issues that are going to be trickled down, that those conversations need to happen now.
You know, it's funny. It's what I hear from you is the same thing that we talk about when we talk about development, right? It starts with actually picking up the phone and calling somebody, right, and having a conversation. So it's not much different. Laurie, what did you have to add there?
I would just say, I think it's important that you really understand your organization's mission and vision and what it is that you do best. As you're looking at the needs in the community, you have to think about what are the strengths of the other organizations and figure out, do they align? Do your two organizations or even more, do they all come together? Could they align with one another? That's critical. You know, duplicating efforts is wasteful in many levels. And so we know that we're not the best at everything, and you have to drop the ego. You have to be able to say, let somebody else potentially be the lead agency. Maybe that's not going to be your role, but you're more of a support role in that partnership. That's okay too. So you have to really just be willing to say, this is when I got to get out of the way, but I certainly want to open doors and make these things happen and come together with other organizations to make the community stronger. So you got to ditch the ego. You got to be open to being flexible, and you got to just make sure that everybody is in unison coming together.
Great. Pete always wants to have the last words.
Yeah, I just thought of it is use social media to amplify your partner's work. I think we're getting things out through social media. And so applaud your kids' foundation, the school, you know, just getting that stuff out is just doing, and it's things I can't do the stuff that they do. So it's been great for us to get that out to families.
Great. That's great. Thank you. Laurie Goganzer, Pete Rosario, you know, when we were kicking off our collaboration Wednesdays, the first two people we thought of were you. And it's not only because we knew you'd say yes, but also because I think you guys are really the leaders when it comes to collaborating and especially during this time. course, next week's guests, I'll probably say something similar to them, and we'll have to thank them in a different way. But thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thank you, guys.
And please tune in again next Wednesday for our next Grunin Foundation Collaboration Wednesday. Have a safe day. Please stay safe. Thank you.